One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory.
This project right here, like I said, we work about, 8 hours on a project totally, and they all score A, so that means your brain works just fine. You're choosing to fail science. You're choosing not to pass the OGT. Your brain works just fine. You just like memorizing 2 Chainz and Future, right? And K-Camp. So we work on a project, y'all had a ball learning the same thing that your science teacher is trying to work with you. But yeah, we do call this project-based learning, but your brain works just fine. And have a great day. I'm running to the next program. Thank y'all for y'all time. Y'all have a great day. And I'll talk to you later.
And you know how I know this works? Especially those also before 1970. Conjunction, junction, what's that function? I'm just a bill, and I'm only a bill.
And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
Same concept.
It's a long, long journey.
Okay, thank you. Same concept, just 35 years later, which means we got it, which means they can get it. Give Mr. Banks another hand. That's a piece that you have to look forward to this summer and throughout the school year. That's the other thing I failed to mention. What we introduce in the summer doesn't stop with the summer. It continues, it grows, it builds. We lay the seeds in the summer and we watch and water it throughout the school year. And it grows. Next, I want to bring forward another gentleman who I had the pleasure of working with last summer, and that's Mr. Dwayne Hurt. He's representing Ohio Guidestone. We'll talk about their role, their piece, and what they have in store this summer.
So I'm from Ohio Guidestone, and Ohio Guidestone, if some of you don't know what that is, was formerly the Berea Family and Children's Home out located in Berea. And they provide residential treatment, counseling service, and even home-based treatment for families, adults, as well as children. We came aboard and first of all, we thank you for that, because we really had an opportunity to not only give something but receive something. I personally benefited from this whole thing. I was actually able to go on the Detroit trip and take the trip through Motown. It was awesome. It was really, really awesome for me. I did the Lolly Trolley. I learned about Millionaires Row. Didn't even know about it. If you know about Euclid Avenue, there was a bunch of millionaires that lived on Euclid back in those days. So I had the opportunity to learn some things as well as to give back. So from our engagement in this whole thing, we were able to bring in the social emotional side of things as well. Some of our activities and some of our workshops that we do allow the children, or should I say young men and women, to engage themselves, to learn how to cope with their own inconsistencies in their lives. And we gave them an opportunity to be really up close and personal with us, even giving some of our own stories back to them. I think when you engage the young men and women in that capacity, building that rapport, it's an easier route and toward helping them. And so we did some things with respect to activities, bunch of workshops. We also did what we have is called the ropes course. And the ropes course is out in Olmsted, just a little bit past Berea. It's a farm. And on that farm, the kids are engaged in activities that promote team building, that promote working together, and even can be utilized through some, corporations and organizations to come out and build, team working within their faculties and within their, employees. But we brought the children out there, a bunch of different activities. They were able to work amongst each other and learn how to help one another through a particular problem. And I even learned a few things. There was this one, you're blindfolded and you're walked through by the gentleman that manifests this whole thing, and you have to get yourself through this maze. And you cannot see it. It's just a bunch of ropes and you got to feel yourself through. But the only thing that your teammates or the others can do is whistle. And they kind of help you get through that maze because you can't see. So again, it promoted team building. On one of the days, we also generated the give back to the community. So we engaged the students in a community service activity, if you will. And it was just, after lunch, we just went outside the school and we tidied up the school grounds. And we tried to, implement a thought into their minds that this is your school. And if this is your school, then it's up to you to keep it clean, to keep it to a presentable level. Because when people come inside your school, it's going to represent you. And so we try to make the children understand, not only from the standpoint of your school, but then take that into the world, your home, your neighborhood, your community. It's yours, so be proud of that and make sure that you are part of the upliftment of your community and not the downtrodden piece. We all know what's going on in the communities. We see it on the news every day. And right now, my issue is we got to get the families more involved. Not that they aren't, but we need you more. More so than ever now, because the people, and I speak only for myself, but the people we trust are letting us down. And so as a community, as parents, as friends, as associates, as mentors, as leaders, we have to come together and help to bring about a realization, if you will, in our young adults, because again, as I always tell them, they are the next level. And if they're not prepared, then what are we really getting ourselves into as we move forward? I'll tell you, young men, one of my greatest and almost most important quotes is Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, when we stop thinking about what matters, our lives begin to end. Our children matter. And if we stop thinking about them, what are we really getting ourselves into? And young men, listen to these people, because those who are not prepared to follow will never be prepared to lead. And I'll leave you with that.
And I don't know if he mentioned, but also during the summer, we will, each program week, we will go out to the grounds and the campuses of Ohio Guidestones for a ropes course. It's a team building exercise. Well, they work on trust, where they work on, you mentioned that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But thank you for reiterating.
Okay.
And again, you organizations, you can use it as well. It's not only just for the kids. Some organizations come out and use it as well, so feel free to check into it.
And that's so critical, because they learn how to be a community amongst themselves with the end goal of coming back into school as ambassadors and modeling that same type of behavior and experience that helps improve the school culture. Next, I'll bring up quickly Mr. Akil Marshall, another gentleman that I'm very fond of and have been knowing, admiring, and watching and learning from for years. And he also is the newest addition to our group of facilitators with his Winning in America curriculum, has worked with different schools throughout the school year, especially here at Maple, facilitating after school. And without further ado, Mr. Akil Marshall.
Life is a wonderful thing, and whenever we're together in a group, we're supposed to live in a big, big way. Vibrate high. This is what our children need to do. The students, the ones that I hear people say, my babies, they have to vibrate high every day. And they have to do it because America is a capitalistic society, and you have to learn to be competitive and productive every day. If you get on the slow-mo train, you're going to be, most times, you're going to get the caboose. And you're not going to get the engine up front. You have to be ready to go. In fact, we had Dr. JB who told us that through song. He said, get on the what? Good foot. Thank you, brother. JB said, get on the good foot. Every day you have to get on the good foot. And Dr. JB also said, I feel what?
Good.
Good. So every day you have to wake up and your day starts off good. The mere fact that you are alive, and this is what we'll be teaching your children, the students. The mere fact that you wake up and that you're alive, your day is already good. If you don't understand that, you got a problem before you go out the door. You have to know that that's good. Now, with the power that is in you, you can make it great or excellent because we have that kind of power. You won't recognize that power if you feel sorry for yourself. You won't recognize that power if you pout. You won't recognize that power if you're a whiner. You're not going to recognize it. When LeBron James, they lost the other day, LeBron James said, both of my titles, we lost the first game. This ain't new. You can lose the first, but you have to be equipped to come back and get in the game. No time for whiny-yiny. So with the program for Students of Promise, the Winning in America program, that's my program. Been doing this work for 20 years, and I have a performing arts company which is 23 years old, be 23 years old on June 12th, my Dance Africa Dance. So the whole thing of presenting, of getting young people to present, getting young people to have confidence, that is a key. Getting young people to feel good about themselves. So this thing that they call social emotional learning, 20 years ago, when we first started this, that's what we activated in our work. Because you have to be a good citizen. So feeling good about yourself, that's important. Having confidence is a key factor. Okay, so the other part that we do is we do professional development for teachers, administrators, principals, but direct service to students, but we also have programming for parents for Winning in America. We will, with the young people, activate them on what we call royalty. To sit, stand, and walk in your royalty. Because people are going to read you, the people who are the decision makers, when they see you coming, or if they see you sitting, they're going to already read your body language. And if you slump in their mind, you are chunked. So you must handle the math and science of your physiology, your anatomy, your biology. You have to handle that. This is yours. So we have to go forward in a powerful way. We're going to work at igniting that in your young people with this wonderful opportunity that Bob Ivory has given me. We're going to work at activating that for them to understand the importance of it. Because it flows in everything else that we see competitively. Football, and I'm a former professional football player, you have to be in the right three-point stance. You have to be in the right four-point stance. When I play defensive back, you have to be right with your body balance. This whole thing of the science of who we are, it's correct. So we have to have our blood flowing right, breathing the right way, so that we can receive the information that we're supposed to receive and give out the information because of the confidence we have, because we know that we took the information in. The Winning in America program is going to work at activating that with your young people. Now when we go and we're serious as a heart attack, but they're going to have some fun. Because we're going to engage them, and we're going to ask them, and we're going to get them to participate. We're going to ask them to speak. We're going to ask them to act. We're going to ask them to present. We're going to ask them to use their imagination. We're going to ask them to be creative because we're going to get them writing. During the school years at different schools we go in, We work with the English Language Arts Department or the social sciences or the social studies. And we get young people writing because inside them is what we call all young people have genius. Now, I'm the author of a book called Winning in America. And my high five model for American education, I'm going to present this right now to Miss C.J. Prentiss. And I've had the privilege of working with her and Bob Ivory, I don't know how many years ago that was, 7 or 8? Yeah. And in it talks about these different things that we're going over. But we will ignite the young people with this whole aspect of winning and the mere fact that they are geniuses. And we will talk to them and let them know that they are great young men and great young ladies. And that they have a winning spirit, that they deserve to be in the winner's circle, that they don't have to be the caboose, they can be the engine, that they have leadership skills, that they must own the English language. They have to own it because they're going to have to articulate wherever they go. And in this form of articulating, it's going to be competitive and they have to come through. Because they're going to be competing against others outside of Huff and Collinwood and Glenville. They're going to be competing when they're going jobs from people all around the world because the world is small now because of this thing called the computer. And they can become a global scholar, a global citizen, as they took the lolly trolley trip to find out, hey, there's some stuff I need to know. There's a whole bunch of stuff we need to know. And they can find out. Now, we create all of our books, we create all of our CDs. We will have the young people and we will create a CD with the young people because they're going to write. It'll be raps, spoken word, some people may choose to sing. They express so many sincere things that are a part of their spirit. And while also doing that, this is our pledge that the young people will do every day. The Winning America pledge. I will be successful. I will not be a loser. I will not give up because I care about my future. I will continue to try. I will ask for help when needed. I will increase my academics past their limits. I will heighten my respect for order and property, increase my communication skills and my creativity. I will practice self-control and self-management, create a good attitude for myself and the world I'm in. I will increase my vocabulary and my use of language because my world is evolving and I want to speak its changes. I will make better decisions for the best results upon me. I will increase my awareness of health and the body. I will enhance my ability to stay on task. I will learn who I am and the history that I have. I will stimulate my leadership abilities. I will awaken the genius within me. I will awaken the genius within me. Thank you all so very much. Thank you.
Now, I would like to bring forward to you, present to some, introduce to others, my my mentor, my friend, my other mom, and my former boss, and probably one of the few people alive that will have me sit down and close my mouth and better not say nothing after her last word. And that is the Honorable. And young men, you will learn through the course of this program and this model, as you meet, and we're going to bring up some students shortly that will talk about some of their experiences. You will meet several honorable members of your community that look like you. And we had the privilege of having State Senator C.J. Prentiss introduce this model to us 8 years ago, work that she's done over the course of her lifetime and career that she'll talk about. But it brings me pleasure, and no one, hear me, the words that are coming out my mouth, can explain this model, this movement, and this moment better when it comes to closing the achievement gap and increasing the high school graduation rate. And what we say we're actually doing is saving lives than the Honorable C.J. Prentiss.
Wow, what a program prior to me talking. Because frankly, when I looked at about job well done. When I looked at what needed to happen many years ago, we knew that unless we created a significant person in that child's life, i.e. the linkage coordinator, unless we, who could just sort of be their coach year round, be their coach, unless we provide a vision of what they could be, like this trip to Morehouse. Did any of you guys here go to Morehouse? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. See them black brothers strut across the bridge, get their diploma, all that kind of stuff. Unless you see that, as opposed to the guy with all of the chains around his neck, making more money than your dad who's doing an honest day's work, but he's making it illegally. Unless you see that,
Right.
you don't see the opposite of that. You have no place to aspire. So, the programs that have been presented to you are just awesome. And I love, what's your name, sweetheart? I love Maya. She was the first one who said it. My babies. That's what I used to say, because look at them. They're 15, 16, 17. And look at me, I'm 74 today. So you know you're a baby. You understand what I'm saying? And we must look at them like that, because they're just being shaped right now. They're just being shaped. They're just being molded into what we want them to be. It was 2001 when we had the idea, frankly, of closing the achievement gap. And here I am at that point, a state senator, and I'm chair of the Education Committee for the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. We all had similar problems in our cities: Detroit, New York, Mississippi, Alabama, you name it, Indiana, you name it. We all had similar problems of our black babies failing, our black babies dropping out of school. I was the chair of the Education Committee at that time. So 31 legislators from across the country met in Biloxi, Mississippi, sharing the idea, number one, what's that? Sharing the idea, number one, that we had to do something, and B, making a pledge to go back to our own respective communities. Again, for me, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan for some, Chicago, you name it, to introduce legislation that will begin to close the achievement gap. Now, when we say close the achievement, what's the achievement gap? The gap means that your white counterparts are doing better than you are in math and reading and science and so on. And that data was across the United States of America. And it closed the graduation rate. In other words, we were looking at school districts, well, in East High and Cleveland, what was it, 37% or 29% graduation rate. So that means out of 100 people, 70 dropped out. You got that? Out of 100 people, 70 dropped out. So anyway, we went back in 2001. We introduced our legislation, all day, every day kindergarten. We figured that if we could get babies when they were young and starting on that educational career, then we would build that solid foundation. So we looked at all day, every day kindergarten, mandatory Head Start or preschool programs, 1 to 15 teacher-pupil ratio. In other words, my girlfriend just quit Cleveland Public Schools the other year. She had 50 kids in the classroom.
Right.
And she said, CJ, I can no longer reach them. I got 50. So if you got babies in early education, and you've got so many, so we required 15 to 1. Teacher, 15. We looked at all that, we looked at parent involvement and all that. We put all those legislative and best practices forward. Then we even went so far in Ohio anyway, I introduced legislation that said if the child fails in the 4th grade or doesn't do well on his proficiency test, then there's mandatory intervention. Stop the clock. Let's figure out what's going on in terms of reading, math, science. Well, some of these programs were half-heartedly done. Funding was short. People looked at it like, well, if we got money, we got to worry about kids passing the OGT, or Ohio graduation test, as opposed to the early ages. Make a long story short, in 2007, Ted Strickland, our governor at the time, I was retired as a state senator, and he said, CJ, what you want to do? Well, I've been in education all my life, even as a legislator, and also taught in Shaker School System. And I said, I want to see what we can do to improve the graduation rate for African American males. We need to start in the 9th grade. We recognize that we need to start earlier, but we only have so much dollars, and the 9th grade is the first time that kids must pass a course in order to get to the 10th grade. And the minute they hit 9th grade, they are held accountable. Many of our babies who weren't able to do division and multiplication found themselves in the 9th grade faced with the mandate that you had to do algebra. Could not comprehend reading what they read. Mandate that you had to pass. In science, only 44%. Now what we looked at, frankly, was that math and science continue to be the gatekeepers for our kids being able to graduate. Math and science. Reading, you gotta get it when it's early, and you gotta keep on working, but math and science seem to be those gatekeepers. Then I looked at the graduation rate for Maple Heights. Out of 100 kids that entered 9th grade, 4 years later, 75 of them went on to graduate. We lost 25. So if you have 500 kids in a class, and 25% of that are missing, that's 100 kids that didn't graduate. So so at the time that we introduced that, we said we got to do something different. And hopefully those of you who have been in the program this year have learned a little bit different, but let me keep going on with one other statistic that was just painful to me when I looked at it. And I will tell you that in 2007, when we started the program, we were in 33 urban school districts across the state of Ohio. From Dayton, Cincinnati, Youngstown, Cleveland, Lorain, Elyria, 33 high schools. We experienced a 40% increase in graduation rate just based on this program. So, it works. Now here's what happened just the other, I was looking at, this is what happened just a couple of, this year. The New York Times did an article, maybe about 4 months ago. And it was entitled 1.5 million missing black men. All right, how many people are familiar with that article? 1.5 million missing black men. When we started our program, we looked at just African American males. We said we'll include Latinos and we'll include white babies if in fact they fall within the category of being absent, failing math courses, being truant, being suspended. They said, we'll include them all. But our research was on the black male, because we felt that was critical. And so, just this last year, 1.5 million African American males. 900,000 of these black males were early death. Based on, what do you think? Come on. Crime. Health and crime. 600,000 were based on, what do you think? Okay. Prison. Locked up in prison. 900,000 early deaths. Accident, you name what other kind of stuff going on. But one of the things is hypertension. So it had to do with diet, parents. Has to do with diet. The other thing was being in prison. And we know that if you don't graduate from high school, the likeliness of you falling into ill will is greater than if you graduate. And you said the likeliness, you don't have to. And then we know a lot of great people who do not have a high school diploma. But the odds are, don't work that good in this day and age. It used to be you didn't have to have nothing but just the will to work. Ask people that are living out in Warrensville and Sonford that make their dollars at Ford Motor Company. Right. And they have no high school diploma. What they have is a will to get up in the morning and work. Right. Work all day, come home, and provide for their families. Yes. Now it's much harder. Okay. In addition to that, here's the most interesting thing. Now, some of the school districts have included girls. We hadn't thought about girls when we first started the program. But just this last spring, a woman by the name of Kimbrell Cranshaw released a study that basically said black girls matter. You know, we talk about Black Lives Matter, black girls matter. Being pushed out of school, being over-disciplined, and being under-protected. Yes. Dropping out of school. And we know, and then we looked at the prison population, and the disparity between black and white was painful to look at in terms of black women in prison versus white women in prison. So, and we said, okay, so that's current stuff. So now, I want to just get to what needs to happen. Are there any administrators in the room? No administrators. So, I see parents, grandparents. So your job is to make the administrators do their job. Right. You got me? I mean, I don't want to say raise hell, but that's exactly what I mean. But you got to do it in a way that they understand it. Basically, everybody's afraid of the black woman. When we come up and we get ready to go crazy. I went crazy when they wanted to put my son out of school in the 4th grade. What could a baby be doing in the 4th grade that you want to put him out of school? I went crazy. But I'm just saying, we've got to look at how we change the paradigm, how we change the model. The most significant thing to you is to worry about, is your kid on target as it relates to his academics? Providing an environment so that he or she can learn. You cannot sit them in a place where they're watching TV and doing their homework. Right. Providing an environment. And the second thing is no negative messages. That's right. You're going to be just like your father. That's right. That's right. You're going to be just like your uncle. Yes. He ain't no good, you ain't no good. Mm-hmm. They hear that stuff? they begin to internalize it. They begin to say, well, maybe Mama, Grandma is right. Because the peer pressure is amazing. The peer pressure says that of all those kids he's hanging with, maybe 2 of them are okay. And we're praying for that. We're praying for when they get out of school, they come home, or they go to their job, or they do something constructive. Now, the second thing about that is changing the paradigm in schools. Sadly to say, there are no administrators here today, and I'm asking Bob if I can come back in September and talk to those principals, because what we want to really deal with is this whole issue of zero tolerance. You know, the whole idea, I ain't taking nothing. I've had principals suspending kids because their pants were down. And you have to ask the question, is it more important to expose them to young men and women who are in business suits or who are working at some factory or something with their pants up, or take them out of school because their pants are down? How important is it? Take your pants up, boy, and keep them. But to suspend, this is the zero tolerance thing I'm talking about. This is where I want you all to raise Cain. If you're going into a situation where there's zero tolerance and there is no sense of appreciation of our culture, appreciation of our community, and that's not to say that our community has pants down all the time, but it's appreciation and an understanding. It's called cultural competency here, which we attempted to do. Do they have that now at all? We're getting there, yeah. It's cultural competency of teachers. And this, I need you to know, has nothing to do with race. This has to do with class. In fact, if you have not been around me, you will not understand me. Simple as that. If you have not been raised in my environment, you have no clue of understanding of who I am. So you can be black and be living in Pepper Pike. I've been in Pepper Pike all your life. Went to one of them private girls' schools. You can be white and same thing, but you have no sense of what's going on in Garfield, Warrensville, Maple Heights, in our homes and our pretty little lawns. You know what I mean? So the zero tolerance is something that I need you to fight back on. I also need you to fight back on extended learning. Is my kid given enough time to learn? Or is he always doing what is called test prep? Test prep is like learning how to take a test. And it's one of these things that principals and teachers have been pushed to based on state law, not necessarily on what they learn in terms of how children learn. The kids got to do good on the test, so therefore we got to practice the test. That has nothing to do with understanding the steps of multiplication, understanding the steps of division. Okay. The third thing is so that's extended learning in terms of you. The third thing is the whole issue of making sure your kids get to go on these field trips. That is the one my husband used to teach at Wilson Junior High. Anybody know what that is?
Yeah.
In Cleveland. It's right by St. Clair. Some of his babies did not know and have never seen Lake Erie. So what we call that is a 6-block radius of awareness. Like that's all they know. Grandma's house, auntie's house, uncle's house, friend's house, 6-block radius. And been outside of their community. Just like this whole Lolly the Trolley thing. People probably, some of those kids I met have never been downtown. Never been downtown Cleveland. So in order to expose them, they have to go somewhere. And I will say this, and Bob and I are both waging this fight. And that is, if the kid is bad, if he didn't act it up that week, if he's had a fight that week with somebody, that's the very time we wrap our arms around him and expose him to something different. It's not the time that we withdraw that kind of exposure. And that's a mindset of our principals and teachers, that if they do something bad, they didn't have to pay the dues. Well, yeah, but don't take away the exposure. Don't take away the field trip. I'll never forget my sons, we lived in East Cleveland. And we had the East Cleveland wine, we had wrestling. And it was the best thing in the world. Yeah. Saved, I was a divorcee, raising my kids as a single mom. And the YMCA was the best thing in the world. My girlfriend who lived next door, her son got in trouble. All three of us would go. Morris Albert Jr., her son's name is Junior. His name was Ernest, but it was Junior. Anyway, he got in trouble doing something, and she said, you could no longer wrestle. I took that away from him. She didn't say you could no longer go outside. So consequently, when Junior was 19, 20, he was part of the gang that, the bus stop gang, I don't know if you remember that, where the bus stop, they would kill people standing at the bus stop. Served his time in prison, and finally passed away. Now, I'm not saying that that was the major cause, but you took that good thing away from him, exposing him to that, left him to his own devices. He gonna do something, and gangs, understand the gangs. Gangs are like family. Gangs love you. Gangs give you security. So the whole idea of thinking your kid is in a gang, how bad that is for them, that's their family. Okay. There's a lot more to say, but I think we've been preached to enough today. I'm going to just pass this around. Just to the parents, but so parent to parent, pass it around. Basically, this is an old book here. We probably have new ones or different ones. But it's a concept of what we looked at when we first got started. You'll see in the middle, linkage coordinator. You see it says a social construction of hope. You see what we identified as all the things around the student that needed to happen for them to succeed. So I'm going to pass it around to you. Just look at it. And I was just starting from there. When I was teaching Head Start, did a lot of teaching. I taught at the Head Start level. I taught at the college level, and I taught at in Shaker Heights, first and second grade, I think. Nothing like second graders, quite lovely. But at the Head Start, when I would say to parents, and most of these parents were on welfare of some type, some kind of assistance. I said, when you had that baby, you didn't say, I want him to be pregnant at age 16. You didn't say you wanted him or her to be on welfare. You didn't say you wanted them to wind up and not prosper. You looked at that baby and held them in your hands and said, this is the future and they will succeed. And I say, To you who are here, invest in this program. It has been known to succeed. Your kids will succeed. Use your lineage coordinator as your best friend in terms of checking in. How's he doing? Is he doing okay? And they got all of y'all's telephone numbers, right? You call them, right? So, anyway, best of luck to you. And again, under the leadership of Bob Ivory, I want to thank him personally for carrying the torch and carrying this on. You understand, I am retired. Thank you, Bob.
She's coming from Ashtabula, a ways away, but one thing I can say without hesitation, probably as much as I, over the years, got on her nerves, she wasn't supposed to nod her head. But no matter what time, no matter what the situation, no matter what the scenario, when I pick up the phone and dial that number, 926 ... Senator C.J. Prentiss answers the phone and gives me what I need. Thank you, C.J. And with that,
I can go home?
you can go home after the students come forward, because I have to have a picture with Arnell, these young men, matter of fact, all the students, because Senator Prentiss is our President Obama.
That's right.
Let me say that again. Senator C.J. Prentiss is our Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
And we have to recognize when we are in the midst of legendary greatness, because that's going to be you. But you have the opportunity to experience a Senator C.J. Prentiss. So I want our young men to come forward. I want to take a picture. I want to also give, see, we don't have $20 million like we had 8 years ago. We got a few dollars, so we got a few trinkets. One, I would like to give this to Senator. There's some stories around this, and we will be here for a minute. But I want to tell you a part of the story. As the book is going around, you'll see that book. That was our first material that we developed. And I remember working with the designer back and forth, and putting that book together. Our whole team, there were 5 of us, and we were family. Just like any family, we got along, we got under the nerve, we had fun, we fought, but it was all to help do what we could to help bolster achievement in the students and the families that we were charged to serve while in the governor's office for closing the achievement gap. But we did not have a hook. Any musicians in here, you know, I was in the studio at 2 in the morning. You gotta have a hook. We didn't have a hook. I said, CJ, we need a hook. She's like, what's a hook? We need something catchy. We need something to attach to what we're doing that everybody can associate with. It needs to say something. And she said a couple of things, and then she said, I don't know. We can do this. I said, what'd you say? She said, we can do this. I said, CJ, that's it. And with that statement, I make a point of connecting that to everything we do, to say just those words. And it will be written in the Constitution that forever, let those words, we can do this, be associated with the Closing Achievement Gap model. CJ, we can do this because of you. Journalists, CJ is always talking about write it down, write it down, write it down. And we carry that to this day with our students. When they went to Morehouse, they use their journals. And this is one of our journals that also have on the cover, we can do this. And last but not least is the official one-time only. You see all those commercials where official, never again, 100 lives when you get one of these, or dial this number right now, 899. Well, that's what, sooner or later, one day they're going to say this about Student Promise. But today, I would like to also present with a pen, a lapel pen, of this Student Promise, which is actually still always will be a product. And because of Senator Prentiss Closing Achievement Gap Initiative.
Students of Promise.